Welcome to our first ever Hulu SME Innovations Spotlight. We're hoping this is going to be the first of many. Mogale is first up. Mogale Maleka. He's the founder and CEO of AB Farms. Mogale is an entrepreneur, a mechanical engineer, and a hydroponic specialist. And actually, while I was stalking him online today, I spotted that he has been kind of all over the world sharing the solution and getting insights. So know that you have an expert in the room and somebody that has really tried and tested his turnkey solution. So today, Mogale will be taking us through AB Farms' turnkey solution that will help you save water, land, and energy, which to all small businesses out there means money. I'm sure we would all love to save a bit on the expenses and make a little bit more profit. So, Mogale, I'm going to hand over to you and tell us more about AB Farms and what you're doing in this space.
Thank you so much, Isabel, and the Fotola team for having me. It is my pleasure to present to your audience. I'll just share my screen and then we can get started. One thing that you didn't mention was that I am a farmer. I don't think it says that online. And I'm from a family of farmers. So I'm in this very unique position of understanding what being a small scale farmer is about, being raised by farmers myself, as well as being an engineer and understanding some and a certain approach of solving some of the problems that farmers face from a technical problem from a technical perspective. So that is essentially how we started the company. It's essentially trying to use agricultural technology to help small scale farmers to evolve and become more competitive. Essentially, our company, what we do is we design, we manufacture, and we install vertical hydroponic solutions. And in a nutshell, we enable farmers to produce more with less resources. On the right of the screen are some of our developmental partners that have helped us develop this solution from ideation through to commercialization, where we are now selling throughout the continent. So essentially, there are three main problems that small-scale farmers face, as well as farming households. One of them being the land issue. Agricultural land prices, despite the politics, land prices have risen by 200% in the past 10 years. So a farmer thinking that they could just plant more and more using more and more land is not a realistic solution, particularly for small-scale farmers. The second issue is outside of load shedding in South Africa, so the energy costs have increased by 500% through the past 10 years as well. So that is a major issue. Small scale farmers tend to struggle with electricity. The third problem that we're facing as small-scale farmers is the water availability issue. South Africa is the 30th driest country in the world, and given all of the issues surrounding climate change, lots of us aren't going to necessarily be receiving more water. Fertilizer costs, on the other hand, have increased by 300% also in the past 10 years. So all of these problems are essentially what inhibit small-scale farmers from increasing production year on year, at the very least to keep in line with the increase in population, in the increase in market. And this is what increases food prices in the long run. So at AB Farms, we're saying that vertical hydroponics is a solution to solve some of these problems. In essence, hydroponics, for those who aren't aware, is a soilless farming technique that is used to grow a variety of crops in a nutrient-rich solution. The benefits of that being that when you use hydroponics, you can use 10 times less land. So what that means is per square meter, you are producing 10 times more kilograms of produce. You're using about 90% less water and 60% less fertilizer. This is because the water is being constantly recycled in the system. So we're reusing the same water. And you can do this really in a virtually pesticide-free environment anywhere in the world, regardless of soil conditions and temperature conditions where you are. So as AB Farms, we did not invent hydroponics, nor did we invent vertical hydroponics for that matter. What we did is we looked at the process of hydroponics, and we essentially came up with a model that we believe will work in the South African context as well as the African context, where as farmers, you don't have consistent supply of electricity because of load shedding and other issues, as well as consistent water for whatever reason. So essentially what makes our technology unique is that it's vertical in nature, number one. Number two, it allows you to irrigate your crops periodically as opposed to continuously, as compared to other hydroponic systems that are often imported from abroad. So just to go into more detail, this is how the technology operates. You've got a pure water tank on the left of the screen. That's where you source your water from, either a borehole or municipal water, and then you throw that into the system. We call that a catchment tank. This is where you would mix your fertilizer. You would then pump your fertilizer with your water from the catchment tank through a bunch of filters into the hydroponic planters, as I've shown you in the previous slide, and then we would filter back the water. So this system is a closed loop system. So the water is being recycled and you're saving a lot of that fertilizer. When you're topping up on your water and your fertilizer, you're only topping up that which the plant has used, right? So this is in contrast to traditional farming, where you have a lot of runoff. Even through drip irrigation, you can't necessarily allow the water, your irrigation system, to just irrigate the roots. So the only way to do that is to go hydroponics. So that's where the water saving and the fertilizer saving comes from. Depending on the budget and the climate, we usually go for water coolers or in some form of closed environment, just to mitigate the temperature, the high temperatures and the low temperatures throughout the year, depending on where we are on the continent. And then what makes our technology unique compared to other hydroponic systems is that this loop, usually what happens is this loop runs continuously, but we found a way to break that loop without having to affect the plants. What that means is your system can remain without any additional water or any additional electricity for up to 3 days without affecting your crops. Of course, when you've got load shedding, this comes in handy. Even if you're taking the system off grid, you want to add solar panels, because you're not using a lot of energy. In essence, you don't need a big solar system or even batteries, because you don't need to run at night. Even during cloudy days, you can go 3-4 days without running the system. So that's really what makes the technology special compared to other hydroponic systems that would have some of the hydroponic benefits, as we mentioned in the previous slide. So this is just a picture of some of the projects that we've completed around the continent. On the right, I'll start there. That's a small system. It was in a school in KZN. Essentially, what we did there was we set up a system where we could teach the young children on how to farm using modern technology, but also we added the produce from that food from the system went into the feeding scheme. So we do have small systems for basically households and non-commercial use cases. Then we have the much larger systems on the left side of the picture. Basically, what you're seeing is on the left picture, the columns on the left and the right, those are each 1,200 units. So what you're seeing there is essentially an equivalent to one tunnel, which is 10 by 30. So that's really where the space saving comes from, because we're going vertical. You can really get a lot done in a small piece of land. To give you a practical example, if you go for 1 hectare system on your 1 hectare plot, you could produce as much produce as someone who's on 10 hectares of space. So that's where the savings come from, just in terms of the land issue. These are just some of the other projects. Again, I just tried to highlight some of the smaller systems, which you're seeing on the left, and then some of the larger systems, which you're seeing on the right. Some of these systems are under a shade net structure. Some of them tend to be under plastic and pad and fan. It really depends on the climate conditions and the budget of the client. We tend to have a workaround where we would sit with the client, they would give us a brief, and then we would work backwards to say, okay, this is what the client wants to produce, these quantities this time of the year. This is the typical temperatures they are experiencing. Then we will design a turnkey solution to provide to the client. Just in terms of the sustainability and impact of these solutions, what we're looking at is an increased food production per square meter, per liter of water, per kilowatt of electricity, right? We're looking at zero hunger. As part of the SDG goals, environmentally sustainable. What makes hydroponics amazing is that you can do it in an urban area, you can do it in a peri-urban area, you can do it without heavy machinery, right? When you use hydroponics, you don't need a tractor, you don't need a tiller, a plow, and all of these machines that require lots of diesel and emit carbon dioxide and some other greenhouse gases. So that's essentially where That's essentially where the benefit comes from. We're also finding that a lot of our clients tend to be on the younger side. In South Africa, most of our farmers are older farmers, yet we see a big uptake in the young people coming in looking for that technology-driven approach to agriculture. And of course, all of these basically boil down to the fact that we're saying per square meter of land that you have, we will increase your profits through reducing your water, through reducing your energy consumption and your fertilizer, as well as your labor. Because you're not tilling the soil, you're not there's very little labor that comes along other than once you've planted and when you're harvesting. In between these two things, you don't really need to do anything other than watch the plant, do a little bit of spraying here and there if necessary. So our business model, sales model rather, is as follows. It's a turnkey solution. What that means is we do the manufacturing in-house. We will come and install the system on your farm, depending on the quantities that we've decided on and the design that you would have approved. And then we also provide after-sales support that is including training, it's including maintenance, all of the guarantees and warranties that come with the system. And going forward, we are looking at a business in a box model where we will open up a buyback policy where essentially we will buy the produce that is produced in our system. So this is something that as a potential client you can look forward to. If you can't market the actual produce, we will come and market it for you. This is something that is in the pipeline. It's not ready yet, but I just wanted to mention it for the benefit of the farmers. So in essence, we've got, can you see my screen? Okay, right. So in essence, I've mentioned two large systems. That's the product. The one was the 120 system. This is usually for households. And then we've got a much larger systems that go up to 10,000 units. So 10,000 planting spaces. These range anywhere between 12,000 Rand and 1.2 million Rand. And then essentially we market our technology. We started off in Gauteng, then we expanded throughout South Africa and then through the African continent. So essentially wherever you are, we can reach you depending on the scale and the size of the project. We will come down and install the system for you. I think that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. These are my contact details at the top and my business partner at the bottom. I will share them in the chat and the product brochure will be made available to you. Thank you so much for your attention.